Hello, and welcome to another message on your journey of self discovery and spiritual recognition of self. In this message, I wanted to address the concepts of your living, way you live and the way you walk this path, and the reflection of self that you would bring forth on your everyday walking and everyday outlooks of self being. And so, to extrapolate on that and to expand on that, the idea that you hold within yourself about the concepts of your self identification, within them, bring on the parameters of functionalities and laws and rules that then by default instill a certain pattern or certain sets of behaviors or certain sets of extrapolation of self into your life. Meaning, if you believe yourself to be something or of something or as something, then that belief, that definition of self, will by default become your truth. And then everything around you will come to reflect and know that truth. So the personal set of definition, the personal set of perceptions that we believe are in fact completely deriving and facilitating us that feedback back into us. And so the question arises is, what is your decision? What is your active decision into your choice of self? And by that, I mean, are you, one, cognitively aware that you're making a choice minute by minute, day by day, into the outcomes of your life? And if you are aware, then what is that choice? What is the choice that you're choosing to and deciding to propagate forth into this lifetime, into this path, into your everyday living, then becomes your truth? And I would say majority of us, myself included, spend very little time pausing and analyzing the choices that we make, the decisions, the beliefs, the thoughts we decide to feed into our life. And then thus we completely underestimate how much that programs our reality. How much our reality, in fact, is just a simple reflection of the cumulative effect of us. And that cumulative effect extends past positive thinking. So if you think, oh, thinking positive changes that effect, it goes beyond that. It actually internally is ingrained into the core vibration of your being. The innermost existence of you, the existence of you is your vibration of self. And so to start to change your life, to start to recognize or become aware of self, and then thus the reality that you're choosing to propagate is not to simply change your thoughts or to think positive or to try to block off anything that you might perceive as negative or judgmental or unworthy. But it is quite literally changing the makeup, the vibrational existence of your being. And so, as complicated as it sounds, and as difficult as that concept might be to propagate, it is actually not difficult to change. And so the change comes, one, in cognitive awareness that what you're propagating right now is in fact your truth. cognitive awareness, what I am right now in this moment, what I'm vibrating, what I'm speaking, what I am at the essence walking as a pattern of information, propagates this existence, this truth. And then start to connect to the understanding that you are as this form, as this propagation of information, as this propagation of frequency, is at all times in charge of your vibrational innate existence. And so to dissect that further, your existence, by default of it, is being a being, of me being this being, only exists because I vibrate a frequency of my existence. And thus, the frequency then internally determines my life, determines the most minute points and the larger brushstrokes of my life. And so when you start to recognize and when you start to see that there's a innate correlation or direct link, or in fact, no separation between the fact that you are here, thinking, looking, listening to this video, and then the fact that you exist. And thus, the third point is, what is it that you exist in, right? So the correlation here, the bridge or the causal effect that I'm communicating here is tying in your understanding of what it means to exist, the nuance of that existence, and how it propagates into informational creation of your universe, of your life, of your experience of self. And then the realization that there is no separation between the two. So the choice of your existence is the innate ability for you to then, by default, choose to have any life or any outcome or any version of self that you would want to experience. And so the change doesn't come in staying in the world where you believe that you are at the mercy of the universe, or you're at the mercy of other people's behavior, or you're at the mercy of your programming, or you're at the mercy of inherent patterns or inherent ways of being, or basically having that stuck form of operation where you actually believe that your truth is your truth, and then somehow are tied to the permanence or to the thought process of its permanence. If the concept of permanence of your existence can be looked at as malleable and something that is easy to change and easy to unravel and easy to control, not because it is something that needs to change or it needs to unravel and needs to control, but simply because you draw this understanding that your existence, the form of your existence, is in fact your frequency of choice that is life, right? And so it's almost this an infinite loop, right? Like an infinity loop, to where creation of this, which is its truth, right? Then by default propagates itself into life, which is the truth. But this truth is not any different than this truth. And so the understanding of this infinite loop that is one, right? It is one infinite loop. But within that parabolic shift, you have permission, or you have a choice, or you have a very direct way to influence and innately change and completely rewrite, in fact, your life. Now, the choice is up to you what that means. But the limiting factor at all times is not the truth that something is not changeable, but in fact, our belief in the concept that something is not changeable. And so start shifting perspective onto what it means to be you, what it means for you to live and to have this existence experience, the experience of existence that you're having right now. Start to change perspective of what that means and what that perspective allows you to do. So in the shift of that perspective of what you being here as a being of awareness and the being of extrapolation and then progression of three-dimensional thinking, of three-dimensional operation, what does that mean in relation to existence, in relation to all creation, in relation to the idea that you exist in this form and you exist with a purpose of propagating something forth. And so that's something forth, right? That actually innately comes from the greater self, from the greater awareness of the universal consciousness, is your personal choice into the expression, into the frequency, or into the information that is you, right? You are not your thoughts, and you are not your actions, and you are not your perceptions. You're simply, or those things are simply the vibrational outputs of your innate vibrational frequency. And the innate vibrational frequency is completely, at all times, and utmostly is at your control and at your point of choice. And so when you see that relation, when you see that innate oneness between the existence of you, right? What it means to be you in this moment, in this life, in this scenario, then you see that within that meaning, within that propagation of self, there's a frequency which is the innate choice of you. And so that shift allows you to then start extrapolate and experiment with different versions of self or different interpretation of your reality, different forms of understanding, different forms of seeing, different forms of experimentation, manipulation, not in the three-dimensional person-to-person self, but manipulation of matter, manipulation of time, manipulation of space. And it allows you almost magic-like control of scenarios that you will perceive as your life. But in fact, they're just simply vibrational outputs of your choice that is the existence of your being. And so the output of that knowledge can be endless. It can be the most in-depth expression of your being. And then again, once you're in that space, then the choice is endless into what it means for you to find the expression of you, what it means for you to feed your personal being into facilitation of the I that you hold as your expression of self. And it becomes an interesting place to be. But again, nothing complicated, nothing extravagant, other than stepping back and seeing the true essence of your existence and recognizing that in that essence is the definition of I that you have chose to bring in into facilitation in this form. And then, as you step back and then see, or actually truly embody that knowing, the facilitation of I, again, is limitless and can take multitude of forms, multitude of expressions. And so it's just experience that beauty. Start to draw the awareness and start to experience that beauty, that innate, really the inherent way that you are meant to walk this plane, the inherent way that you are meant to experience being, and start to experience it from that point of self. It's unlimited and beautiful. So, thank you.